Welcome to our channel, where we regularly update exciting and dramatic stories inspired by the long-running TV series The Young and the Restless. Below is a climax revolving around Audra Charles, Kyle Abbott, Summer, and the threatening appearance of a dangerous character named Holden. Please follow the entire development to see clearly how the characters face challenges, internal struggles, as well as tense situations of survival. In recent days, the atmosphere in Genoa City seems to hide more undercurrents than the usual calm appearance. The business and upper-class world always operates according to the rules of fierce competition, where money and power are intertwined with dangerous calculations. Audra Charles, a young, talented but reckless businesswoman, accidentally got involved in a deal with great potential risks. She once wanted to find a breakthrough opportunity, affirming her name in the field of real estate and commercial projects. Ambition pushed her to make bold decisions, but that also got her into unexpected trouble. Audra was said to have borrowed money from an underground organization, hoping to invest in a project that would generate quick profits. She had heard many rumors about the person behind those loans. It was Holden, a loan shark in the form of investment cooperation. No one knew exactly where Holden came from, only that he acted like an underground boss, ready to use threats and violence to force debtors to submit. There were rumors that Holden had a network of connections with other nefarious forces outside of Genoa City, even reaching beyond the local scope. One evening, after working late at the office, Audra left the building in a tense mood. A series of anonymous text messages, anonymous phone calls, and threats kept appearing, making her suspect that sooner or later Holden would personally show up. At this point, she could only find a way to delay or negotiate, because her investment capital had encountered legal problems and the project was stalled. As time went on, Audra realized more and more that she had bet her future on a dead-end gamble. In the deserted parking lot, she suddenly noticed a figure lurking in the dark corner. When she stopped, she realized it was Holden. His appearance was not too big, but his eyes were cold and his face was full of menace. He clearly showed his annoyance at Audra's late payment, as well as the possibility that she was planning to run away. Audra's mind was filled with fear, but she still tried to appear calm and found a way to explain that she needed more time to handle things. Things quickly escalated when Holden showed his determination, showing that he was ready to use force if he did not receive a firm promise or a mortgage immediately. Audra felt the atmosphere gradually become heavy. Her breathing was rapid, her hands were shaking, and Holden was still determined to move closer as if he wanted to threaten her further. Suddenly, Kyle Abbott, the son of businessman Jack Abbott, happened to walk in. He accidentally witnessed the whole scene while passing by the parking lot. Although he did not have a good relationship with Audra, as the two had many disagreements and several business deals, Kyle still could not be indifferent to the sight of a woman being threatened. He decided to confront Holden, asking him to leave. However, Holden was not the type of person to let it go easily. He acted aggressively, directly provoking Kyle, considering him nothing more than an obstacle. The situation quickly turned into a fight between the two men. Kyle, although having the advantage of height and youth, but Holden was experienced and acted extremely recklessly. Audra stood by, panicked, trying to stop him but could do nothing but cry for help in desperation. Not long after, Kyle and Holden were fighting around the scattered parked cars. The sound of punches and collisions made Audra even more panicked. She was worried that Kyle could be seriously injured at any moment by Holden's brutal nature. In the midst of the fight, Holden almost launched a few dangerous attacks at Kyle. Only when Audra boldly shouted that she would call the police did he stop for a moment. Taking advantage of that short period of time, Kyle turned around and pushed Holden back, causing him to stagger a bit. Holden's expression gradually changed from anger to calculation. He understood that tonight would be difficult to gain if he continued to struggle. After a few seconds of consideration, he backed away, leaving a warning that Audra wouldn't be able to run forever. Then, Holden quickly disappeared into the night, leaving Kyle and Audra exhausted both physically and mentally. Audra sat down on the ground, tears rolling down her face in fear. Kyle was also exhausted, with many scratches on his body. He helped Audra up and asked if she was seriously injured. Audra felt ashamed that her recklessness had almost put Kyle in danger. She awkwardly explained briefly about her debt, promising to tell more details when they were no longer here. Kyle reluctantly agreed to escort Audra out of the parking lot. He was worried that Holden might come back soon, or worse, that his accomplices were waiting somewhere. On the way, Audra could not hide her fear of being threatened even more. She regretted being too ambitious and putting herself in a difficult position. Meanwhile, Summer, Kyle's wife, was at home and began to feel uneasy when her husband came home late. She called Kyle repeatedly, then pieced together the unusual signs over the past few days. Kyle finally calls back, summarizing the situation that he had just dealt with an emergency, and asks Summer to set up a meeting place for him and Audra. Summer is initially curious, not understanding what is going on, but recognizes Kyle's tense voice and immediately goes to the meeting place. When Summer arrives, she finds her husband sitting with Audra on a bench by the roadside. Both of them look exhausted. Summer quickly notices the bruises on Kyle's face, as well as Audra's scratched arm. She is worried about her husband, and at the same time, she cannot hide her uneasiness about Audra's appearance in such a sensitive situation. However, after hearing Audra recount the story of her debt to a dangerous man like Holden, Summer suppresses her own emotions and focuses on finding a solution, at least temporarily. The couple decides to take Audra to the guest apartment on the Abbott property. Here, Audra shares more about the loan she took from Holden, the reason why she couldn't pay it back on time, as well as the legal difficulties in the project. Audra admits that she anticipated the risks but was subjective, hoping that the procedures would be completed quickly to have interest to pay Holden. However, the situation went beyond her calculations, forcing her to avoid it instead of settling it from the beginning. Summer clearly shows her fear, reminding Kyle that his rushing into the fight could have unpredictable consequences. She believes that Holden is not an ordinary person and that he may have a network of accomplices out there. A reckless action sometimes puts the Abbott family in the crosshairs. Meanwhile, Kyle is reluctant to leave Audra in a dangerous situation, especially when he has witnessed the threats she has to endure. Not long after, Summer begins to have simmering jealousy. She feared that Kyle's frequent interactions with Audra to find a way to resolve the crisis would create more distance between the couple. Summer had never had a good feeling about Audra, because she had often been calculating in business and had often criticized the Abbott family. However, facing a life-threatening situation, Summer could not stop her husband from acting heroically. In that context, Holden began to appear sporadically in many places. He even hung around the shopping mall, where Summer accidentally caught his eyes fixed on her. This incident almost made Summer lose sleep, because she understood that Holden was playing on their psychology, showing them that he was ready to follow and attack anyone related to Audra. Audra became increasingly uneasy, her mood plummeting. She felt like she was pushing everyone into a dangerous adventure, but she had no way out. For her, reporting to the police was a risky choice, as it could trigger the extreme anger of Holden or the organization behind him. On the other hand, she was also afraid that if the case broke out, the reputation and career she had worked so hard to build would be ruined. One evening, Audra received a text message asking her to meet Holden at an old bar on Riverside Drive. He only gave a brief request about the time and place, not forgetting to remind Audra not to bring anyone along. She was terrified, but knew that if she did not show up, he would be even angrier, and might seek violent revenge. Kyle and Summer discussed it with Audra. Audra planned to go alone to avoid getting involved, but Kyle insisted on going with her. Summer was worried that this was too dangerous, but also understood that Audra could not be left alone to face the evil. They decided that Kyle would play the role of observer, sitting in a hidden corner to intervene if anything went wrong, while Audra would take the initiative to negotiate with Holden. At night, the two went to the deserted bar as scheduled. The space was damp, smelling of smoke and alcohol, and the guests were sparse. Holden was already sitting in a dark corner, waiting for Audra to approach. Kyle quietly chose a table far away, enough to watch the developments. Audra tried to stay calm, and began to ask Holden for an extension of the debt. She promised to gather enough money to pay both principal and interest if given more time. However, Holden was clearly suspicious and impatient. He repeatedly mentioned that Audra had broken her promise, and thought that she was trying to shirk her responsibility. While the two sides were tense, Holden caught a glimpse of Kyle, the person he had fought with in the parking lot. He was angry, thinking that Audra was tricking him, bringing her accomplices along. The atmosphere immediately heated up when Holden put down his glass of wine and intended to call more people to threaten. Only then was Kyle forced to step forward, ready to protect Audra. Things were about to escalate into a second fight when Summer suddenly appeared from the entrance. She had been following her husband silently, because her intuition told her that things could get out of control. Summer quickly called the police before she could step in. The sound of police sirens blared in the distance, making Holden realize that he could be caught if he lingered any longer. Not wanting to face the law directly at this time, he left the bar through the back door, leaving a threat for Audra. After the dramatic night, the police only recorded a preliminary statement, did not find Holden at the scene, while the surveillance camera did not capture enough clear evidence. Audra continued to live in fear that Holden would appear at any time. Kyle, because of his brave but impulsive actions, may be held responsible by the Abbott family for complicating the situation. Summer also revealed her jealous anxiety, because her husband was increasingly side with Audra. Not long after, Audra decided to move out of the temporary apartment in the Abbott house to avoid getting everyone involved. She rented a secret hotel room, only maintaining contact with Kyle by phone to inform him that she was safe. This made Summer even more embarrassed, partly because she wanted to feel at ease because Audra was not around, but also because her husband often called to ask about her. As for Kyle, he was caught between two great responsibilities. On one side, he was protecting his family, his wife, and the Abbott family's reputation, and on the other, he had a conscience that could not abandon someone in danger. Although Summer loved her husband, she could not help but worry, fearing that Kyle's chivalrous nature would create a loophole for trouble beyond her control. Jack Abbott, Kyle's father, could not sit idly by when he heard that his son was involved in a fight with a gangster. He feared that the Abbott family's reputation and many relationships would be damaged. Jack had warned Kyle to be careful in every action, especially when Holden had not yet revealed all of his hidden power and illicit relationships behind it. On the other hand, Newman Enterprises, where Audra used to work or at least cooperated, also has a secret investigation into Holden. Some people think that Audra's project is not just a personal risky business, but is very likely related to a money laundering or underground stock transfer line. This makes the whole picture more complicated, creating many unknowns waiting to be clarified. Currently, many questions remain unanswered. No one knows how Audra will manage to have enough money to pay off the debt, or she will have to consider stronger measures. Maybe reporting Holden or finding another force to get help. Will Kyle continue to take risks to help Audra, despite his wife's worries and doubts? How will Summer handle the situation when she wants her husband to be safe, but also has difficulty suppressing the fear that he will be dragged deeper into trouble, or even develop other feelings? As for Holden, what force does he represent, and what is his ambition other than debt collection? Amidst the hustle and bustle of Genoa, the splendor of the upper class and large corporations, ambitious people are still struggling to find their place. The Young and the Restless has always been a journey where people fight over projects, power gaps, and endure pressure from the past and accumulated hatred. It seems that the atmosphere in this city is still waiting for a big explosion, when all grievances, ambitions, love and calculations are intertwined, turning each episode into a crossroads of countless conflicts. Behind the upper-class facade, each character is hiding their own calculations. Kyle may take on more responsibility if things get out of control, and Summer will be forced to clarify her views on the relationship between the three. Contrary to her feelings of annoyance, Summer cannot coldly ignore Audra, because she understands that everyone makes mistakes. However, human emotions are always complicated. Sometimes conflicts arise because of closeness and sympathy in times of trouble. Will Kyle and Audra get closer, causing Summer to suffer? At the same time, Holden, once he loses his patience, can launch more direct and cruel revenge. He always declares that with this debt, Audra cannot easily pay it all with money, but may have to exchange great benefits, even business secrets or social status. Many people speculate that if there is no timely intervention from the government or a countervailing force, Holden will continue to spread danger not only to Audra but also to those around her. The story, therefore, becomes a multi-dimensional picture of faith, love, honor and redemption. Despite being placed in many ironic situations, each character must continue to search for a way out that suits their own personality and goals. In the future, it is possible that Audra will decide to take more risks, or she may receive financial assistance from someone to pay off all her debts. But the price to pay may be business benefits or other constraints. Kyle may have to suffer Holden's wrath, be attacked or trapped, because he wants to regain control over the debtor. Summer will face a choice: support her husband to continue his chivalry or use all means to make him stop, to preserve family happiness. Jack Abbott may also enter the secret war, find a way to protect his son, and at the same time have to calculate the pros and cons for the Abbott family's reputation. Newman Enterprises is likely to intervene by indirectly investigating, or possibly using relationships to isolate Holden. However, everything is still very vague, because everyone has their own calculations to maximize their own benefits. Thus, the entire chain of events revolving around Audra, Kyle, Summer and Holden is just the beginning of another stormy journey of the young and the restless. The story ends at a halfway point, leaving many concerns about the future of the characters. From the threatening actions in the parking lot, the intense fight, to the dramatic negotiation meeting, all have created a climax, but at the same time mark the beginning of a new series of conflicts. The grudges about money, fame and love will continue to explode, when no one can predict all the cards that Holden is about to play. Audra is on the brink of danger. Will she choose to fight back or continue to run away? Kyle can hardly avoid feeling conflicted between doing the right thing and keeping his family safe. Summer is torn between love, jealousy and the responsibility to support her husband. Even though the current incident has passed, danger still lurks. All the knots can be temporarily untied, but no one can guarantee that Holden will stop. The audience will have to follow the next developments, as each character reveals more of their calculations and determination. All promise to create a picture full of emotions, where mystery, hidden forces and psychological crises appear one after another. Thank you for following the entire report on the latest developments in Genoa, related to Audra, Kyle, Summer and Holden. To find out how the characters will cope, whether their relationships will be disrupted, and how far Holden's steps will go, please continue to follow our channel in the next articles and updates.